In this section, we are going to talk about the Unified Modeling Language, or UML. And we're going to use this language to do our design, to design our architecture. What is UML? UML is a language. It defines rules governing how things can be combined to form expressions. The idea is that UML doesn't just give you a way to draw diagrams, but it gives you a way to express concepts and relationships. To support this, UML needs very specific terms for elements. An operation in UML is an abstract concept defining an action on an interface, while a method is a concrete implementation. UML is documented in 4 specifications from the OMG: the diagram interchange, the UML infrastructure, the UML superstructure, the object constraint language. Several of the core UML concepts have been formalized and documented so they can be modeled, extended, and even executed by development and design applications. This approach to software development is called Model-Driven Architecture, or MDA. Let's see some key modeling concepts. All UML components and concepts are optional. UML is designed to be flexible to represent any process or organization. For this reason, these components and concepts are optional. The best practice for UML is to make it simple. A UML diagram can be confusing if it is not designed and managed carefully. When modeling, it is recommended to use the parts of a diagram that are enough to explain your process or concept. It is hard to have a complete UML diagram. UML models contain optional elements, and the message that they deliver must be effective. In order to do that, an UML model does not need to be complete to be effective to communicate the necessary information. UML is free of interpretation. UML is all about how elements of a diagram relate to each other without any reference to a particular language. New components and elements can be created ad hoc. If you need to design a UML diagram for a concept in a particular programming language or database, and you can't find the needed elements, you can define your own ones. Let's see the static modeling. If you need to represent a system described by software code, you should use static modeling. Static modeling diagram types are class diagrams, package diagrams, component diagrams, composite structure diagrams, deployment diagrams. Let's see dynamic modeling. If you need, you should use dynamic modeling. Dynamic modeling diagram types are activity diagrams, state chart diagrams, interaction diagrams. UML classifiers. UML classifiers are needed if you want to use static modeling. A UML classifier is a set of UML elements that have something in common, such as attributes, methods, and so on. The most common UML classifiers are class. In object-oriented programming, a class is an extendable program code template for creating objects, providing initial values for the state member variables, and implementations of behavior, member functions, or methods. It is used to describe and name attributes, operations, and responsibilities that are common to more objects. And we have the component. A component is a modular part of a system which cannot be broken down furthermore to represent a part and behavior which can be replicated within the system and environment. A component defines its behavior in terms of provided and required interfaces. Signal. A signal represents an asynchronous call between 2 instances of a class. You will use signals if you need to describe the various messages. Subsystem. A subsystem is a part of a system composed of one or more components realizing one or more interfaces. Use case. A use case is a collection of requirements for a system, represented by the graphic depiction of the interactions among the elements of a system. A use case is a methodology used in system analysis to identify, clarify, and organize system requirements. Let's see some important concepts. Stereotypes. All static UML diagrams share several UML elements and extension mechanisms. One such mechanism is UML stereotypes. Stereotypes extend UML by defining simple terms and using them to clarify UML elements and their attribution to a system. Stereotypes are usually one word, such as interface, exception, import, or library. Notes. All UML diagrams support the use of notes. Notes are simply text added to include information to enhance the concept expressed in a UML diagram component or part. Tag values. Tag values refer to UML elements to specify user-defined properties. These properties contain metadata external to the runtime information of a system. Examples of tag values are author name, version, etc. Constraints. Relationships between elements, as well as the elements themselves, can be validated using constraints. Constraints allow you to express conditions that must be true for the model to be valid.